the people's right to self-determination. And
Hello and welcome. I'm Sima Katauka and you're watching World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. As farmers staged protests outside the residence of President Emmanuel Macron and across France, the French government has called for a Christmas truce with protesting farmers after more than a week of demonstrations over cattle lumpy skin disease policies and the EU-Mercosur trade deal. Pope Leo has appointed the Bishop Richard Moth as the new Archbishop of Westminster in UK, replacing Cardinal Vincent Nichols after his mandatory retirement. This appointment comes as Catholicism gains ground among worshippers and in England and Wales amid warming ties between Rome and London following a historic joint prayer. Bangladesh's interim government has urged calm after the killing of a popular student leader sparked violent protests, with media offices and political and cultural sites torched as security forces deployed across Dhaka ahead of elections. The unrest comes less than 2 months before the February 12 vote amid current instability. Taiwan's media reports that 9 people were injured and among them 4 are critically injured after a suspect released smoke bombs at a Taipei subway station and then attacked bystanders. Taiwan Premier Cho Jung-tai has confirmed the attack in Taipei as motives of the attacker remains unclear. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that Europe may need to re-engage in direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin if US-led efforts to broker a Ukraine peace deal fail, while warning that Europe is being sidelined. Greece's Coast Guard has rescued about 545 migrants from a fishing boat off of the island of Gavdos, one of the largest migrant arrivals in recent months. The Greek Coast Guard said they were found during a search operation some 16 nautical miles south of Gavdos and is being transported safely to the port. According to an official from Ukraine's SBU, Ukrainian aerial drones struck a Russian Shadow Fleet tanker in the Mediterranean Sea for the first time, hitting the vessel Kendil more than 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine and causing critical damage, marking a significant escalation once again. French lawmakers have failed to agree on a 2026 budget compromise, raising the risk of emergency legislation to roll over spending and avoid a shutdown after a joint committee collapsed talks. While Central Bank Governor Francois Valeroy de Galhou has warned such a stopgap could widen the deficit. Now for this hour, we start with U.S. arms supplies to Ukraine have not slowed despite U.S. President Donald Trump ending direct negotiations. A senior NATO official says weapons continue to reach Kyiv through the Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PURL. European nations are also contributing to the funding. Since December 2024, NATO's mission has coordinated weapons, equipment, and training for Ukraine. Some 220,000 tons of military aid have been sent in trucks, trains, and aircraft in 2025 alone. Most aid currently flows through a hub in Poland, with a second hub in Romania expected by January. Ukraine's top needs include air defenses, artillery, anti-tank mines, electronic warfare, and deep strike weapons. Meanwhile, the U.S. also approved $800 million in new funding under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiatives. Let's listen into what the Major General Mike Keller, Deputy Commander NSATU, had to say.
So the deliveries are ongoing, so there was no pause or something because of this mechanism. It was just continuing, and it's not that the US exactly waits until it is paid for. So as soon as one package is announced, the flow of material is starting, and then it goes continuously. Again, we will not, do not wait until the bill is paid, so to speak. So it's a good flow that we see, actually. And then very important capabilities that's coming from the United States.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Dan Perry. He's a world affairs analyst, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how do you see changing roles or alignments of Europe towards US and also looking at Russia? How do you think, how aligned are they now? And is there a sense of fatigue among supporters, especially in Europe?
Yeah, I think there is increasingly going to be a sense of fatigue, but on the other hand, for Europe, I believe among the leadership, there is a sense that Ukraine is fighting a fight that is for all of Europe. And even though U.S. shipments haven't really ended, the U.S. administration has, over the past year, instituted a policy of periodically reviewing and intermittently suspending aid to Ukraine. In fact, it hasn't ended, although they threaten it. And the U.S. administration seems a little bit uncertain about the degree to which they want to abandon Ukraine, although I do assess that is Trump's fundamental instinct, but it hasn't happened yet. Look, for the Europeans, the choice, I believe, is rather clear. Ever since February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine proper, the entirety of Western aid to Ukraine has amounted to about $400 billion, about half from Europe and half from the US. So that's $200 billion from Europe. Europe's economy is $20 trillion. So that's 1/4% a year. If the Europeans really assess that this is their strategic imperative, of course they can make up the difference, even if the US just walks away. Some elements of that might be difficult. For example, intelligence capabilities that the US has, that the Europeans do not at the same level. Also, there are some missile and airplane technology that the US is superior in. But at the end of the day, if the Europeans decide they simply have to step up and make up the difference, I do believe they can. So even though in the public there may be, to a degree, ennui about this issue and a desire to maybe join the Americans and compelling Ukraine to make a bad deal, I think among the governments, at least the governments currently in power, we'll see what happens in a couple of years when maybe the far right will be in power in some places. I think that isn't there yet, and Ukraine can probably count on the Europeans to step up.
Right, thank you for laying it out all there. And now bringing security guarantees to conversation, what could or who could provide the security guarantees, and how do you think, how close are all these players or these countries in getting into or the ceasefire alignment towards ceasefire deal?
Well, there are two versions of security guarantees. One is declarative, and the other is boots on the ground. The U.S. has made clear they will not put boots on the ground. I think the Europeans also recoil at that. Part of the equation is whether the Ukrainians will be forced to cap their armed forces. The original deal that Trump unbelievably signed onto would include a cap at 600,000 soldiers in the Ukrainian armed forces. If that happened, then yes, there would need to be more active intervention on the part of Ukraine's Western allies. I believe the answer to your question is this is yet to be determined. And you know, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, and it forces people to focus. If indeed there were no choice, my suspicion is that the Europeans would put boots on the ground, but the Americans no.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we stay on this topic. Now, White House envoy Steve Witkoff is meeting in Miami with national security advisors from Ukraine, Germany, France, and the UK. The meetings aim to push forward talks on ending Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Witkoff, along with Jared Kushner, is also scheduled to meet a Russian delegation this weekend. Officials say the discussions focus on negotiating a potential agreement to halt the conflict. These talks mark the latest U.S.-led diplomatic efforts to bring the warring sides to the table. Now we welcome back Mr. Dan Perry. He's a World Affairs analyst, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, what can we expect from the upcoming talks, and how does this, the delegation that is heading to these talks, particularly Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, change the course of the talks?
There's a very major mystery. The U.S. has, in the past month or two, signed on to two very different peace plans for Ukraine. One was basically written by the Russians and midwifed by self-same Witkoff, which was completely unacceptable to the Europeans and to Ukraine. The second, the 18-point plan or 19-point plan, far more acceptable to Ukraine, whereby Ukraine would perhaps accept the loss of about a fifth of its territory, but not recognize it formally, nor would there be any cap on Ukrainian military size, nor would Ukraine be forced to hold elections, which is an absurdity because Russia is a full dictatorship and no one's asking Russia to hold elections. So I think analyzing this is a little bit, very much difficult, because it largely depends on the whim of Donald Trump, a very strange person to say the least, who seems influenced on occasion by the last time he spoke to Vladimir Putin. I think we have to wait and see.
Yes, indeed, we will be eyeing that. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving the focus to Middle East, Egypt is pushing for the swift implementation of the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire deal. In a joint press conference with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badil Abdelati has emphasized the need for progress after the completion of the first phase. Abdelati has noted that while efforts continue to recover a missing body under difficult conditions, it's crucial to move forward. He has stressed support for U.S. President Donald Trump's peace plan, which includes the withdrawal of forces, restrictions on weapons, and reconstruction efforts. According to him, key to the next phase is the deployment of Palestinian police to maintain order and security in the Gaza Strip. Let's have a look at what he has shared.
نعتبر أن المرحلة الأولى قد تم الانتهاء منها ويتبقى كما تعلمون جثة واحدة يتم البحث عنها، وطبعا في ظل ظروف شديدة الصعوبة بسبب آلاف الأطنان من الركام والمتفجرات اللي موجودة، ومع ذلك أعمال البحث مستمرة. ولذلك بعد انتهاء المرحلة الأولى لابد من الدخول في المرحلة الثانية والتي ندعمها بكل قوة لسرعة الإعلان عن دخول المرحلة الثانية حتى يتم تنفيذ كل الاستحقاقات بما في ذلك الانسحاب من قطاع غزة ومسألة حصر السلاح ومسألة إعادة الإعمار ونشر القوة الدولية، فضلا عن نشر اللجنة الإدارية الفلسطينية لتتولى إدارة الأمور الحياتية، بالإضافة إلى نشر الشرطة الفلسطينية لتتولى مهام إقرار الأمن والنظام في قطاع غزة.
Now for this discussion, we welcome back Mr. Dan Perry. He's a World Affairs analyst, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry, for staying with us. Now, looking at this once again, how do you think, how realistic is the countries that are pushing second phase of Gaza ceasefire is in achieving?
Currently, it's very much up in the air. It's a huge question. I believe we're seeing a little bit of both sidesism here when people claim that both Israel and Hamas are somehow in violation. The reality is that Hamas never agreed to actually disarm. That was the key point of the Trump 20-point plan. And for Hamas to agree to disarm would require brutal pressure by not just the entire world, but the entire Arab world on Hamas, and that would include Qatar critically, also Egypt. So if Hamas does not agree to disarm, then what we have is a stalemate with a very awkward and embarrassing situation where Hamas remains in charge of the vast majority of the 2 million people of Gaza, and the resumption of the war at some point or other is almost inevitable. I would strongly urge the Arab League and Qatar and Egypt and Turkey to make extremely clear to Hamas that no reconstruction will happen and no funds will be forthcoming whatsoever unless they really do disarm. And with Israel, I would say that Israel has to get out of its own way and agree that the coming new government in Gaza must include the Palestinian Authority, because there is no other brand that can possibly fill that role, along with the International Stabilization Force, which would be meant to assist the Palestinian Authority. There's no way around it. I think brutal pressure is necessary on both the Israelis and Hamas, but the main issue is that Hamas openly refuses to comply with the terms of the agreement, and it's time that the world made it clear that this is totally unacceptable, and the key issue is the Muslim and Arab governments in question.
Thank you for highlighting that. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Perry for joining us today from London and sharing that insight. Now we move on to Asia. 3 people have been killed and 5 injured. They have been injured when a knife-wielding attacker went on a rampage in central Taipei before then dying during a police chase after falling from a building, as per reports. The alleged attacker had let off smoke bombs at Taipei's main train station and then ran into a nearby subway station in a busy shopping district, attacking people on the way. Reports suggest that the deceased suspected attacker had a prior criminal record and outstanding warrants, and his house has been searched. Besides smoke grenades, he likely possessed items such as petrol bombs that appeared to have burned at the scene, and he was also wearing what appeared to be body armor and a mask. Let's take a look at the video circulating on social media for the suspected attacker. Now we will skip that part. Let's also listen into how the residents of Taipei are reacting to this shocking incident.
据他们的描述说，是有嫌犯嘛，在大概中山区捷运站那个马路的十字路口那边丢烟雾弹，然后开始拿双刀从那边冲进去砍人。那大家当然都很慌张。那毕竟也是一个危急时刻，所以我当下采取的措施是让其他客人都先躲进来避难，避免大家被看到啊，因为毕竟被看到被砍的风险就是增加。
因为这毕竟就随机砍人，你也不知道什么时候会发生。然后而且大众运输工具，你也不知道什么时候会发生就这种事情，我觉得很危险。
我以为是恐怖分子来犯案这样，我一开始以为真的是以为是国外的人，就想不到，是好像是台湾人。
Now we've moved the focus on to Asia. The United Nations Human Rights Chief voiced alarm at the killing of Bangladeshi student protest leader Sharif Osman Hadi, calling for a swift and impartial investigation. Hadi was a key figure in last year's pro-democracy uprising. He was shot by masked gunmen while leaving a mosque in the capital, Dhaka. Last week, he was initially wounded and flown to Singapore for treatment, but eventually succumbed to his wounds. With parliamentary elections scheduled for February, Turk has stressed that it was vital to ensure an environment where all individuals could participate safely and peacefully in public life and freely express their different views. Now for this discussion, we welcome Prashanta Kumar Shil. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Dhaka. Thank you very much, Mr. Shil, for joining us again. Good to see you. Mr. Shil, now how significant is this loss of student leader, and what comes next, and what's the situation like in Bangladesh now?
Yes, you know that the student-led leader from Usman Hadi.
Yes.
Uh, he is killed from yesterday. Uh, Confirmed the Singapore doctor that he is no more from, especially he's from major surgery. And you know that from last Friday, we see that he's been attacked by some miscreant and from the motorbike and gun shoot from our head, and that's why he's in serious injured for that and from life risk. And yesterday we confirmed that from Singapore doctor mentioned that he is no more. So after the 5th August scenario, we see that there is some balancing, some feedback issues come from in front of the student-led leaders, some the pro-activists, some other political group are rising. And today we see that again from the place in major places in Dhaka, from Colin Shahbag, all the supporter from Hadith supporter from other people and some the activists, online activists and other just gathering again, and they want to say justice for the Hadith, and just they have one demand, that is the capital punishment from Hadith murder. So there is demand, and they have been gathering again from 2 days. And yes, last night we have a very crucial experience. We see that there is a lots of vandalizing issues in Dhaka, lots of attacking, firing, and lots of targeting issues are there. So we see that is in some severe context for that. And today we hope so. There is no other casualties again. From that, we haven't just expected it, but we don't know what is happening after from tomorrow. You know that from tomorrow, he has a final from his burial from a program for that is called in Janaza from tomorrow. And so we have been just waiting after this resolution, what is happening, and still now the situation under the in front of from Usman Hadi, we see that there is some activism coming from some Facebook activism, some provocation are there. The student have already another group, other a group there come from, and they haven't decided lots of their agenda, particularly from in behind of Usman Hadi, and their the main agenda, their main prayer for that from the government and other thing, that is the capital punishment for his murderer. And also they have been very urgently they have been taken from anti-Indian hegemony treatment, and also the Army League issue. So lots of metaphor issues are for that. So we are not too sure what is happening the next. Just we want to see particularly what is the from Bangladesh politics in the from few next couple days.
With that, I would like to thank Mr. Prashant Kumar Shil for joining us today and sharing that insight from Dhaka. Now we move on to Middle East. Heavy rain has caused major disruption across the United Arab Emirates, with dozens of flights cancelled or delayed and roads flooded in several cities. The downpour, the heaviest in months, lashed the desert nation overnight into Friday. Dubai's Emirates airline has cancelled 13 flights, while neighboring Sharjah airport has also reported delays and cancellations. Dubai airports have said adverse weather conditions were affecting operations, urging passengers to check flight updates. Flooding was reported on Sharjah's main street, where residents were seen wading through deep water, while water pumping trucks were deployed across Dubai to clear blocked roads and large puddles. Authorities have warned residents to stay indoors unless absolutely necessary as the storm approached. The scenes revived memories of April last year, when record rainfall brought Dubai to a standstill and forced thousands of flight cancellations. Forecasters say heavy rain has also affected other Gulf states, raising renewed concerns about extreme weather in the region. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.